There you go. All right, folks, roll call. We have Mark, myself, Harsh, Joe, Kathy, Mike, Scott, and Matt. As of right now, we have a quorum. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation developed, under God, liberty and justice for all. Okay. We need to have a motion to take number 5 out of order. We're going to do designer update first because Gene has to go to a town meeting. So, actually, let me start with, there are no opening remarks because Derek has a Rainham's town meeting and Michael Dutton is not here tonight. So we're skipping opening remarks. Obviously, John Garish is not here, so I will be filling in as your chair. Good luck, all of you. I'll take a motion to take number 5 out of order, and then Josh will have roll call vote.
This is Kathy, so moved.
Second, Mark.
Okay. Michael?
I'm assuming that's me. Aye.
Yep. Lily? Is
Josh, we can't hear you.
Yep, sorry. Let's restart it. So we'll start with Michael Dolan.
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Michael Loesch?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Harsh?
Harsh, you're on mute.
Harsh?
Yes, did you hear that? Sorry, what, am I off mute now?
Yep,
You
you
are.
are.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Gene, you're up.
Okay, great. It's a fairly short report. We wanted to touch base on the permitting, which so far is going very well. We have 3 bodies we have to get approval for, and the first one is Conservation Commission. We had our hearing via Zoom last Thursday, and we had our RDA civil engineer kind of represented our team and made a presentation to the Concom. I know Shane was on the Zoom meeting. I couldn't be, but the feedback I got from more than one person that the Conservation Commission was very happy with what they saw. They really didn't have any pushback on anything from what I heard, and they may have even closed the meeting and issued approval last week, except they were waiting for the town engineer to complete his review of this report. It's called a stormwater management report, and essentially it just says where's all the rain that hits the ground, where's it going to end up, so that there's no more leaving the site via the sewer system than what's there now. So the next hearing is scheduled for a week from Thursday, and we expect that we should be able, we expect that the stormwater management report is going to be okay, and that we hope that the hearing will be closed out. I don't know if Shane has anything to add to that. He was on the meeting.
No.
Okay. The second was we've made 2 other submissions. One I had touched on at the last SBC meeting was the Zoning Board of Appeals, and there was a long checklist of dimensional things in this residential zone, and one part of the building, kind of the back half, is higher than what would be allowed in this zone. So we ended up submitting an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals on June 2nd. And the first hearing is a week from Wednesday, which is June 24th. So we assume that all will go well, but if there's a need for a second hearing, that would be on Wednesday, July 8th. We had CC'd a bunch of people on the application, and I think John Garish was pretty happy with it. Didn't really have any negative feedback from Jennifer Burke or anyone on the town side. So we're pretty confident that that's all set. And the last board that we have to gain approval from is the planning board. We submitted an application on June 8th, and we confirmed with Jennifer Burke last Friday that she has, everything was in order. She has what she needs. And what we ended up submitting for the planning board, they want to look at traffic, and they want to look at utilities, and they want to look at how things flow on the site, what the landscaping is, et cetera, et cetera. So we submitted a traffic report, and we submitted all the civil engineering drawings. We submitted the landscape drawings. All those diagrams we had worked out with you and the SBC, showing how buses and cars and pre-K vans, how everything's separated. So the first hearing on that is 2 weeks from Wednesday. So that's July 1st. And I don't know if you remember at the last meeting we had, but Pat had kind of volunteered to, get that meeting pulled together, because there was some question about whether people were going to be away. But we did confirm that they will hold that meeting on July 1st. And if there's any need for a second hearing, that would be on July 15th. So I guess go ahead, Shane.
If I could, Mike.
Go ahead.
Utilities, is that part of planning board?
They had something about it on their list, Shane. So we had utility load letters from Ngrid and Columbia Gas.
Okay.
I don't know if they comment on it or not. But.
And are the exterior finishes to the point where they can review it effectively, or might that come back?
We made in our application, Shane, we said that here are some, and we put some 3D images all the way around the building, and we said that these were from the design development phase, and that we were working through the precise colors and patterns with the committee, so that I'm hoping by the second meeting we can go in there and just have updated renderings and ask them for their approval.
So if this committee changes the exterior, will we need to go back to them, to planning board?
I don't know how the planning board wants, I don't know how strict they are about what the color of the building is. They may or they may not. They may just approve the massing, but I honestly don't know, Shane. I can reach out to Jennifer tomorrow and kind of try to clarify that.
Well, I think we should.
Okay. Not a bad idea.
Anything else, Gene?
No. The only other thing was, and it sounds like Shane is going to, it's kind of dovetails in with what Shane just brought up, but we wanted to, now that we have the CD60 submission in, kind of kick that color subcommittee back into gear. And so I think Shane's going to try to coordinate some meeting dates with Dennis we think there might be about 3 meetings with the subcommittee and 3 reports to the building committee between now and July 20th.
Any
And
questions?
if we have to, I was just going to say, if we have to, if based on what Jennifer says tomorrow about the exteriors, if we kind of have to switch around and concentrate on the exteriors and nail those down first, maybe we'll end up doing that.
Any questions for
That's
Gene?
it.
I don't see any. Okay. You're all set, Gene. We'll head back in order of the agenda.
So just, Mike, if I could just put one other
Sure.
question, Gene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they do the survey of that sewer line out to Route 18?
Oh, John was out there last week, Shane. I forget which day, but they did. He went out there to make sure that the crew was there, that they had coordinated with the water department, and so he went out once in the morning and once in the afternoon. So I know it happened. I haven't heard any results. I'll try to follow up on that too.
Okay, so yeah, hopefully everything is good, but if there is an issue, does that need to be part of any of these permitting submissions if we need to do any work out there?
I don't think so. I think the idea when we decided to do it was if there was an issue and we felt some of the pipe had to be replaced, that we could put it into the work of the general contractor.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess we tell the planning board that's happening, but I don't see it being a big issue.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Gene. You're free to stay
You're
on
welcome.
as long as you can with the meeting you're going to, but if you need to drop, I understand.
Okay. Well, thank you for accommodating me.
No worries. Shane, we're at OPM update.
Yeah. So can I share my screen?
You should be able to. Yeah,
All right.
Josh made you a presenter.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Mike is going to start the presentation tonight.
All right, hello everyone. So we've started coordinating very closely with JR Vinagro, the demolition contractor. They mobilized today. They started marking out the layout for their erosion control and fencing. And actually shut off the water valves in the building in preparation. So they'll continue that tomorrow. I'll just go down the minutes here. We had the kickoff meeting on the 8th. Fire department was there, Derek was there, Bob Pacheco was there, and everyone was on the same page there as far as how the fire department's going to be getting access in case of emergencies, and sort of what the sequences are going to be, and what those first deliverables are for contact lists and emergency contacts. As I said, they did mobilize today for the perimeter fence and erosion control. They'll continue that tomorrow in preparation for the building clean out, make safe electrical systems and mechanical systems, all in preparation for the building takedown to start on July 6th. 60% CD submission was submitted to MSBA. Shane ran that in on the 8th. They'll give us their comments within the next 3 weeks. As, you know, usually Gene is repeating us a little bit. We're going to repeat Gene in this case, but you know, we had the ComCon meeting on the 11th, and in upcoming meetings, we'll see when our next meeting with them is. It's on the 25th. We continue to meet virtually. You know, Shane was just asking about continuing the finishes group meetings, and that's been a really good process with the town and with the school, developing these drawings. And we'll continue that into the 90% set. And that's the next set for RDA to take us to. If you could go to the next slide, Shane. Thank you. So schedules and milestones. So we have Vinagro mobilized now. And that takes us through the summer for the demo of the existing buildings. As I said, we have the 60% CD submitted now for MSBA comments. But RDA, continues on the 90% in earnest as we await those comments through our working group meetings and their own development. Same dates for the 100% CDs and bid documents. It's September into October. Still same dates for bidding and award and construction, December 2020. Here are these upcoming meetings. You see the three boards that RDA submitted to: the Zoning Board of Appeals, Concom, and the Planning Board. So we have our upcoming meetings there, along with our SBC meetings. Same budget, as you see, same bottom lines. As we progress, you see the amount paid to date is now 2.504. We continue to work with MSBA.
So yeah, number 10 is still under review, and we'll submit another pro pay for the month of June, and we'll try and get caught up with that and all the reimbursement from the MSBA. Couple of things that I want to talk about tonight, just as we move into the 90% construction documents and we start to think about the bidding phase for the project. We talked a little bit about this back when we were looking at the procurement options available to us when we talked about the lump sum under 149 and the CM at risk under 149A. We are moving forward with the project under 149. Procurement laws in Massachusetts, which is a lump sum bid. So I just want to go through this. There's different thresholds in Massachusetts, and that dictates how you bid, when you bid, and who you bid to. A project of this size is in the highest thresholds. Public construction over 150 million or 150,000. They require the general contractors to be DCAM certified. Below 150,000, you're not required. But I know there was some concern with the quality of contractor, perhaps, that did the old school. The procurement laws have changed. They changed in 2003, where now any project over 150 million, the general contractor must be certified by DCAM. The certification is it's a review process by DCAM. DCAM is the Department of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance for the state of Massachusetts. Every contractor who wants to bid on any project over 150 million must submit an application once a year. DCAM review that based on their project record over the last 5 years, and it also includes any evaluations that they've received from either public projects or private projects. They take that all into account and decide whether the contractors are qualified to be certified to bid on public work. Also, projects over $150,000, we were required to bid certain trades under the filed sub bid laws. I've listed I think it's 18 filed sub bids below here. I've crossed out some of the ones that that won't be part of our project, but there's about 15 filed subcontractors that will be bid separately on our project. And all of these subcontractors will also need to be DCAM certified to be allowed to bid on the project. These are the same group of subcontractors for every public project: masonry, mist metals, waterproofing, roofing, glass glazing, windows, acoustic tile, resilient flooring. We don't have any lath and plastering in our project. We don't have any terrazzo. We don't have any marble. Tile is ceramic tile, painting, elevators, fire protection, plumbing, HVAC, and electric. So we will need to go out to the filed sub bids for this and bid those separately to the general contractors. Another thing in the 149 public procurement process, construction contracts over $10 million have an additional requirement of pre-qualification. So that is that it's not enough for these general contractors and filed subcontractors to be certified by the state. They also need to be pre-qualified on a project-by-project basis for every project that they wish to bid on. So the pre-qualification process, it's a two-step process that we need to use. In step one, we establish a general contractor pre-qualification committee. That general contractor pre-qualification committee will also be the pre-qual committee for the file subcontractors. At a minimum, the pre-qualification committee must be made up of representative of the designer, so that would be Gene or Jeff, and 3 representatives of the awarding authority. One of those representatives of the awarding authority can be the OPM, so we strongly suggest that that I be allowed to act on behalf of the awarding authority on the pre-qualification subcommittee. The process then, we prepare and we advertise a request for qualifications. We prepare a request for qualifications. These are advertised publicly for any interested contractors or file subcontractors. And this RFQ must contain the provisions governing the RFQ, the evaluation. It sets out the criteria by which we will judge whether contractors are qualified or not to bid on our project. And it also includes the rating system that must be used to pre-qualify the contractors. That notice is sent to a local newspaper. It's also published in the Central Register as a weekly publication by the state of Massachusetts that lists all public construction projects, amongst other things, and also on Combis, which is the online state of Massachusetts public procurement website. So we will take care of that advertising. We've already put together an RFQ, and we'll get that ball rolling very shortly. Once we receive those statements of qualifications, we're required to evaluate each and every one of them to see if the general contractors and the subcontractors are deemed qualified for a project. I've listed what we look for in these, and this is set out in the RFQ. So management experience, that includes the owner of the company. It includes the actual team that they're proposing for our project. It includes their safety record. It includes their legal record if they've had any judgments against them, and it also includes their bank statements. The references, then we'll do some reference checks on all of these contractors, both previous projects, and then we can use other information to go look for other references that they may or may not have listed in their RFQ. Then the capacity to complete the project. That's where we look at their financials to make sure that they actually have the capacity to bid on a project this big. There's a small group of general contractors in Massachusetts that probably have the capacity to bid a $62 million school project. So we're going to make sure that they have the ability to do that. And also all those subcontractors, based on the estimated contract value of each subcontract, we will see if they have the capacity to do that. There are also some mandatory requirements that they must submit. Bonding capacity. So all public construction projects are required to be 100% bonded. That includes the general contractor and the file subcontractors. So they need to submit a letter from a bonding company confirming that they have the capacity to bond a project of this size. They also need to submit their current certificate of eligibility from DCAM, which I just mentioned. That's renewed every year after they submit their application. And that will show that they're currently certified by DCAM to bid on public projects. And then they submit their update statement. The update statement is a standard state document that updates any changes to their circumstances from when they last submitted their application to DCAM for their certification. So if they submitted their application for certification in January, and we're pre-qualifying in July or August, they should include any information and changes from January in that update statement for us to review. There's a total of 100 points available. As you can see there, each category has a minimum point requirement, but there's 100 points total, and each general contractor and file subcontractor must receive a score of 70 or higher to be deemed qualified to participate in the second step. That is, if they get a 69, they will not be deemed qualified and they will not be allowed to bid on the project. If they get a 70 or higher, they will be allowed bid on the project. And finally, once we've gone through the pre-qualification selection or pre-qualification process, we will publish the names of each general contractor and file subcontractor that we've included in the pre-qualified list. Step 2 then is the bid documents that we've talked about for quite a while. This is what we'll complete in October. So once we have the list of pre-qualified general contractors and file subcontractors, we'll issue an invitation to bid to those, letting them know how they can obtain copies of the plans and specifications to prepare their bid, and also when and where the bids must be submitted to. We receive first the file subcontract bids. So typically we give the file subcontractors 3 weeks to bid on the project. They submit those. It's a public bid process. So we open those bids publicly. Anybody can attend that. Anybody can look at the bids. Anybody can review the bids. Once we have those, we will put together what's called a file subcontractors bid tab, and we'll issue that to the general contractors to include in their bid. The file subcontractors, they can submit an unrestricted bid, which means anybody can use their bid to include in their general contract, or they can restrict it to use by any one general contractor, or they can restrict it to say certain general contractors cannot use their bid. So just using an example, ABC Masonry may submit a bid for the masonry, and it may be unrestricted. That means all the general contractors bidding on the project can use ABC Masonry in his bid. He'll insert the mason's price that he wants to use in his bid, total up his bid, and submit a bid. If XYZ Masonry doesn't want a certain contractor bidding on it, he can put that in his bid form that he doesn't want Smith Builders using their bid for theirs, and then Smith Builders will not be allowed to use that masonry contractor for his bid. He'll have to use one of the other masonry contractors that submit the file subcontract. So once those bid tabs are put together, we send those out to the general contractors. The general contractors usually have a week or two after the file subcontractor bids are received to prepare their bids. The general contractors will put together their bids for the non-file subcontractors, and then they need to include that list of 15 that we have on this project, the list of the file subcontractors that they want to use for the project, and use the price that the file subcontractors submitted in their bids. The general contractors aren't required to take the lowest file subcontract for any trade, but typically because it's a low bid situation, they will take whoever is a low bidder and include that in their general bid price. And those general contractors submit their bids publicly. They're open publicly. Anybody can review them, and everybody will know the general contractor's price as soon as they're open. Once we receive those, we'll just do some additional checks to make sure that there's been, again, no changes to the contractor circumstances after pre-qualification. And then we must award the project to the lowest responsible and eligible general contractor. So that's a term that's used within the Mass General Law 149, and there's a definition of what a responsible and eligible general contractor is in the general laws, and we must award it to the lowest contractor. So that's the pre-qualification process. I'll stop there. It's a lot of information. I don't know if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask.
Or anything on the demo progress so far?
Pardon?
I said, are any questions on the demo?
No questions. Okay, so what we'd like to do tonight, Mike, and maybe we can do it after the presentation, is we would like to look at establishing that pre-qualification committee. So do you want me to continue on and we can come back to that?
I just want to make sure, somebody just said something about demo, though. I missed who that was.
Oh, no, I was just seeing if there were any questions on the demo
Oh,
progress and schedule.
Sorry, Mike, I couldn't see who was talking. And
Yeah.
you can do it either way, Shane. You want to, it's up to you.
Well, maybe we can open it up now. So as I said, one person from the designer is required to be on that. So that will either be Gene or Jeff. We'll confirm which one of those from RDA will be on that. And then 3 representatives from the awarding authority, including, one from the OPM. So with the committee's approval, I'd like to be the representative of the OPM on it. I think Bob Pacheco, are you on the call?
Yes, Shane, I was just going to say I'm willing to take part in that committee as well.
So I've talked to Bob, and Bob is willing, and I think Bob would make a good person on that committee, just because he'll be involved in the construction and the maintenance. So he'll want to take a look at certainly some of the contractors who are allowed to bid on this project. So we need to fill a minimum of 1 more position on that, Mike. We can have more than 4 if we want, if we have more than 1 volunteer, but just wanted to open it up and see if anybody wanted to volunteer for that.
So is anyone else interested in this?
So maybe if I could just, I don't want to scare anybody off, but so typically we receive about 100 statements of interest from contractors and file subcontractors. Daedalus as the OPM will run the process. We'll do most of the legwork, in that we'll receive the statements of interest at our office and we'll distribute them to the committee members. But we'll do all the reference checks on the subcontractors. We've got a standard form that we use to score these contractors based on the criteria that's included in the RFQ. So in terms of what work is required by the committee members, it's probably just to review the RFQs or sorry, the statements of interest, to make sure that they agree they should be pre-qualified, and I imagine there will be probably 1 or a maximum of 2 meetings that we would have to hold. So it's not a whole lot of work. As I said, we'll do most of the work on this, but we are required to have 3 representatives from the awarding authority.
So everyone knows John has agreed to be a representative from the committee, but he expressed the interest of someone else potentially wanting to join as well. So that's the ask. So really, Shane, you're looking for people to sit in and make a decision on who becomes viable candidates to actually do the construction project based on what they've submitted for bid.
Correct. So we'll review general contractors, and we'll review these subcontracts here to determine whether they're qualified to bid on our project or not.
Michael?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to raise my hand in that. I just did a similar process for the fire building subcommittee, all the proposals that came in. I'd be more than happy to participate.
Okay. You're on, Matt.
Sounds good.
So it'll
Mike,
be, yep, go ahead.
This is if you need another volunteer, I'm up for it.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is submit Harsh and Matt's name and John's name to you, Shane. And then if John feels like it sounded like he would do it if no one else would, but because there are 2 other folks, I want to sort of leave that to him to make that decision on whether he wants to continue on that committee or not. So
Okay, so I'll talk to John and maybe we'll come back and we'll propose the final pre-qualification committee in 2 weeks' time at the next SPC meeting.
So that's the chair's prerogative to appoint. So he can do that without the full committee to vote.
Okay, I think, yeah, but I would like to get a committee vote on
Oh,
it.
you would? Okay.
Yeah, to reaffirm it, but we don't need that tonight.
Okay.
Mike, we can wait till the next SPC meeting.
Okay, that works.
All right, and then just I wanted to talk about bid alternates. So alternates may be included in the bids of the contractors and the file subcontractors at the discretion of the awarding authority. These alternates are separate prices that are broken out in their bids, so we can see what the actual items include. So under 149, you can have both add and deduct alternates. So you'll have your base building bid, and then you can have these alternates either as an add or a deduct. The awarding authority can have these in, but they're not required to accept these. It's at the discretion once the bids come in whether the awarding authority or the building committee wants to accept these alternates. One thing I will say that if we do have any alternates, they must be accepted in the order that they're listed in. So if we have 4 alternates for the project, we have to accept them in that order, 1, 2, 3, 4, in which they will be listed in the bid documents. We can't pick number 1, skip number 2, go to 3, and pick number 4. The reason we often have these alternates is for bid protection, is what we call it. Now in our case, we're very lucky, and it's not often where we see ourselves in this position, but we are tracking about $1 million or a little more under budget based on our 60% construction estimates and the bids that came in below budget for the demolition project. What I mean by bid protection is if we receive the bids on bid day, if we're over budget, we've got 3 options. We can either reject all the bids, go back and redesign the building to meet the budget, and then we have to rebid the project. Obviously not ideal. It's probably a 3 to 4 month process to do that, which would mean that our schedule, we wouldn't be able to make that September 22 schedule. The second option is to bid, is to fund any of those bid overages from other line items within the project budget. So, we've seen that the line items in our overall project budget, we can certainly move monies from one line item to the construction line item if we wanted to, but obviously that will have an effect on those other individual line items. Or the third one, which nobody absolutely wants to do, is we can go back to the town for additional funding. So in the past, what we've done is we've included these bid alternates as bid protection. What that effectively does is it reduces our construction budget by the value of these alternates. We always recommend add alternates because we find we get the best value as add alternates, because none of these contractors want to lose a project because their alternates were priced too high. So if we have add alternates, these contractors will price them competitively to make sure that if the awarding authority does decide to take them, that it won't push their bids up. In effect, if we have a low bidder and we pick alternate number 1, 2, and 3, that low bidder, his bid could jump to number 2, and the number 2 bidder could jump to the low bidder because of the alternates. So we always feel it's better to have add alternates because you get a better competitive price for the add alternates. So I just wanted to put that out there. This is available. As I said, we're tracking under budget by about $1 million or a little bit over. I'm not sure if we'll need to do this. It's something that we can look at before the next meeting, and if it was the desire of the committee, we could come back and suggest some of these alternates. Typically, they're, you know, what we call low-hanging fruit. So, you know, a good example of an alternate might be, you might recall we have screens around the rooftop top equipment. And, you know, we could take those out and include those as an add alternate. We then get pricing for from the general contractors on that, and if we're under budget, we can add that back in. It's an easy one to design, to separate and add back in. Other ones we see sometimes, or you know, go from, right now we have granite curbing throughout. We could change the granite curbing to concrete or Cape Cod berm. And again, in the event that we're under budget, we just add back in the granite curbing. So just wanted to put that out there to see if there's any desire for the committee to have us go and look at some alternates to act as bid protection.
So I don't want to speak for the full committee, but anybody else can feel free to jump in here, but I would say yes. I think that's an expectation the voters of Bridgewater have on us. And for us not to do that would be irresponsible, but I sort of leave that up to others to weigh in. Mark, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I definitely agree that that's a good idea to do, and I think we should try to pursue it.
Okay, so what I'll do is we'll talk to Gene and his team and perhaps come up with about, you know, 4 to 6 alternates is typically what we see, you know, in the range of maybe, you know, 1.5 to 2.5% of the construction value. So just, you know, as that protection. And we will explain it more, but, you know, again, I just want everybody to understand that this is not, we do this as a protection against the market. It wouldn't be reducing the scope, it wouldn't be reducing the quality. It's just giving us a sort of another option in the event that, you know, there's a catastrophe and for some reason these bids come in over budget.
Yep.
Right now we don't expect it, but this just gives us an added insurance, if you like, and they can easily be added back in. So we'll talk to the design team and come up with some alternates and present those perhaps at the next building committee meeting.
Shane, this is Kathy. So I just want to make sure I understand the final result. It's still one contractor, right? These alternates aren't like considered separate bids that it could award one piece to one contractor and one piece to another.
No, it will always be the same contractor, but as I explained,
Yeah.
you know, if we have if ABC Contractors is a low bidder based on the base bid, and then we pick alternate 1, 2, and 3 to go into the project, you know, you add that to the base bid, so that could change the order of the bidders. And as I said, we're required to award the contract to the lowest bidder. So it's always the same, you know, it's always one contractor, but these alternates can change the order if we accept them. And that's why we recommend that they be add alternates, because we get the best competitive value for them in add alternates.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Shane? Shane, anything else before we move on?
That's all we had for tonight. As Mike said, we did submit that 60% on June 8th. We did get an acknowledgement back from MSBA that they're reviewing it, but haven't heard any further comments yet. So we'll let you know as soon as we get those.
Okay. Thank you. The communications group, the only thing that we are still working on is getting a camera down on that site to do a live feed. We're still in discussions with BTV to figure out the best way to do that. So that's still a work in progress. We were sort of hoping to get some of the demo work recorded, or at least be able to live stream, but I'm not sure how much we'll be able to get. So we will definitely keep folks posted. Lil or Scott, anything else?
No, I think that was it, Mike.
Public comment. I don't see anybody. Nope. I see just the 16 of us. So public comment, there is no public. Number 8 was left on by clerical error, so we will skip. We obviously voted that 60% approval submission back at our first meeting of this month, I should say, which was June 1st. So that was a clerical error. So we'll pass that by. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from June 1st.
Motion to approve the minutes from June 1st.
That was Lil.
Matt Rushton, second.
Roll call vote.
Quick question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Mike Dutton, I think, needs to be added to the attendees someplace.
Okay. So you are, there's a motion to amend the minutes to include Mike Dutton.
Yes.
So that's a sub motion. We need a motion, second on the sub motion to add Mike Dutton to the minutes.
Second.
Will second. So we're voting to amend the minutes to add Mike Dutton. Roll call vote. Oh, Josh, are you there? Oh, there you are.
Michael Dolan,
Aye.
Mark,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lillian.
Yes.
And
That was the motion to amend the minutes. Now the main motion of passing the minutes.
Michael Dolan,
Aye.
Lillian,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Kathy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Aye.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you.
You all, the next building meeting are June 29th, July 13th, August 3rd, and August 31st. Please add those to your calendars. One of the beauties of Zoom meetings is you can do them from a beach somewhere if you'd like. Any additional discussion for the group, number 11 on the agenda for those of you following along? I think this might be our quickest meeting in history.
So this is Kathy again. I know last time we talked about making the submission documents available somehow for us, just the committee.
Yep.
I didn't know if there was any update on that.
Yeah, I can send that out, Kathy. I'll send that out right after this meeting when we hang up. And yeah, just to remind people not to distribute those publicly, just for yourselves. I dropped that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy, for the reminder. Anything else? Okay. Motion to adjourn at 6:24.
Mark,
Kathy, motion to adjourn.
second. Mark.
Start the roll call vote. Michael Dolan.
Aye.
Lillian,
Aye.
Mark,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
If I say no, are you really going to stick around?
Oh, the majority has it.
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and thank you.
All right, we're adjourned, folks. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you all.
Take
in
care.
a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Bye.